Hello, this is Chris Sartorial. In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to use our previously drafted sleeve sloper to create a two-piece sleeve suitable for a jacket or coat. The best way to draft a two-piece sleeve by far is to start with an armseye. I demonstrated how to draft an armseye in a previous video, so if you haven't got one, refer to that. An armseye, as I mentioned before, is a sleeve sloper where the sides have been folded in to meet at the center. Now I have traced off this armseye onto a sheet of paper. You want to be sure and mark which is your back and which is your front. The next thing we're going to need to do, because the two-piece sleeve bends at the elbow, we're going to need to mark the position of the elbow. Now I've measured this on my dress form, and I've measured it at 7 3/4 inches up from the wrist. So I'm going to mark that here and just square a line straight across. Then the next thing we need to do is bend the sleeve at the elbow. You can bend it differing amounts. I'm going to do it about 3/4 of an inch, or about 2 centimeters. So from this point at your elbow, mark a line from 0 to 3/4, bending toward the front of the sleeve. Use a red pen so you can see the new line. And then this bottom of the sleeve measures 4.5 inches for a total of 9 inches for our sleeve opening. So I'm then going to square a line at the bottom here. And mark 2 1/4 inches either side of that. And then connect, again, the elbow point here to the new bottom, forward bent bottom of your sleeve. The front and then the back. So our sloper is now bending forward below the elbow. Now we need to establish our new seam lines for our two-piece sleeve. Now they can vary considerably, the upper part of the sleeve. Toward the wrist, generally they're about 1/2 inch inside of the line. So for the sake of simplicity for this draft, I'm going to draw the lines at 1/2 inch in all the way up. Same on this side. Here. These will be the seams that separate the upper sleeve from the undersleeve. Now I simply need to take a piece of paper and trace off those inner lines. Now this, as you can see, becomes my undersleeve. I've drawn the center line as a grain line. For the upper sleeve, we need to do some folding and tracing. We need to fold along this outer line on the upper part of the sleeve. And trace off this line here. And then fold along the new line on the lower part of the front side of the sleeve. Trace this off. And do the same on the back side. Again, folding along this outer line on the upper side and tracing, and then folding on the same line on the lower side and tracing. So here is our upper sleeve. Now we'll need to make some notches. I'm going to put a notch, say 3 inches down along the front seam of the upper sleeve to match 3 inches down on the front seam of the undersleeve. And let's say 5 inches, or let's just do 4.5 from the wrist up on the upper sleeve, and 4.5. We'll do something similar to the back. I'm going to put a notch 4 inches down, and I'm going to make a double notch, another 1.5 inch below that, just to make sure I know that this is the back side of the sleeve. Again, notches in exactly the same place, measuring down on the undersleeve. And then another notch. I'm going to go about, again, 4.5 inches. You will find that the distance from notch to notch on the front of your upper sleeve is slightly shorter than the distance notch to notch on your undersleeve of the front side, and you'll find that the distance notch to notch on the back of the upper sleeve will be slightly longer than notch to notch on the undersleeve. Do not adjust the patterns to make them the same. You'll want to slightly stretch the upper sleeve in the front to meet the undersleeve, and you'll want to slightly ease in the back of the upper sleeve to meet the back of the undersleeve. Again, don't adjust them to make them the same. It's very important. Now we're going to add seam allowances to these and cut them out and sew them up. Maybe a little confusing for you to see, but as you can see, I've added seam allowances. You need to mark your notches, of course, on your seam allowances. In doing so, I've also smoothed these corners that have appeared ever so slightly. It also may be helpful for you to square off your seam allowances at the sleeve cap. You'll want to lay your patterns on top of each other to make sure that they match. This will help you a lot when you're sewing these together, because seams going into an angled seam can be a little difficult to match up, which is why we square them. So I'm going to cut these out and sew them up. Here is the sleeve sewn into the blouse that we drafted in an earlier video. As you can see, it hangs very nicely, bending slightly forward from the elbow. You can draft it to bend even more forward. That will increase the amount that you have to stretch in the front and ease in the back, which is why this type of sleeve is very good for more supple fabrics like suit woolens. Give it a try and let me know how it turns out for you. Thanks.